guys, welcome to Real Talk with Real Food Recovery. This is our weekly wisdom segment where we get together and we talk about things that are very real to us. And we have a very, I think, important topic to talk about. And Jamie's going to expound on this, but we're going to talk about where the ego comes in when as it relates to recovery. So, Jamie, share some of your thoughts around that.
Yeah. So this is a really hot topic in this week in RFR, and it's all around the idea of the ego trap. So ego, of course, those of us in recovery for a while know that our ego and the stories we have about our ego, how it sees the world or how we see the world, can play into recovery in good ways and in not so good ways. But this topic this week, all about the ego trap, is something that really has come up because we know in recovery what the pleasure trap is. The pleasure trap is sort of sitting squarely in this place that we all are living in this hyper palatable, hyper cued and triggered world of processed foods everywhere around us. We literally are sitting in the pleasure trap. 200, 300, 400 years ago, a million years ago, our ancestors never had to deal with a food environment that we have to deal with in the last 50 years. So we are living, maybe even 70 years, we are living in the pleasure trap, where everywhere you turn, you're literally going to seek pleasure or run from pain, which both things tend to lead us to food. But if we talk about the other side of the discussion of the pleasure trap, is this belief, this ego trap belief, that we need to be all or nothing, black and white, completely, wholly away from those very foods that are trapping us from the pleasure side. It's a great thought to have, and it's absolutely something that many people, depending on where they land on the addiction spectrum, might want to adopt. For me, I need to adopt that perspective. I need to have a striving of abstinence and align as closely as I can to abstaining from sugar, flour, alcohol, and processed foods. I need to. That's because I know how I act when I have a little bit of those foods. I can't moderate them. That's my experience. But what can happen is I can get so caught up in this black or white thinking that I have to be abstinent, and I will never, ever again struggle with saying no to these foods ever again. And the minute that I say that to myself, I'm in the ego trap. Because now it's not a realistic perspective. It's actually saying black or white, my way or the highway. I am going to avoid these foods forever. And if I don't, I'm a horrible person. I'm going to kick over the table and Katie bar the door and eat all the things. Right? So this is how we get trapped. Our ego traps us, which is exactly what it's programmed to do. We are living in a hyper stimulating, completely abnormal environment for which our bodies and brains and chemistry are not equipped to live in. So there's nothing wrong with us. It's pleasure trap, ego trap, dichotomy. We're showing up exactly the way we're programmed to show up, and the food companies know it, and so many of the diet industry, they know it. And I thought it was the answer. And for some, abstinence certainly might be the answer, but what's not the answer for me is to see it unrealistically. Is abstinence my goal? Abstinence around processed foods? Absolutely. Is it realistic for me to think that I'm always going to be abstinent, and if I ever step away from that I'm a failure? Nope, that's not realistic. So again, how can we be mindful, present, and realistic? Paige, what are your thoughts here?
I agree with you so much, and I love all those points you bring up, and especially for being in recovery, because of all the things that you just explained. Really, our recovery is geared around how do we handle things when we have a little sidestep? How do we make it the most compassionate place to be so that progress can still continue to take place? We are human. We are faced with these situations time to time, too many times in our life, but we still have to live in this world. So recovery is about creating that environment so we can thrive in an environment that really is set up to be a challenge to us most days in our recovery. So you said it perfectly. I agree. And I hope it brings a lot of comfort for those listening that it's okay. We understand you. These things will happen, but we have a way to help you transition back to that clean lifestyle. Because, in other words, we want you to be at peace. So if you are in a position where you have a donut or a cookie at some celebration, ask yourself, does this still provide peace? And if it doesn't, then that may not be for you. If it does, and you can giddy up on down the road, fantastic. Then you have your answer for that. But it can be a slippery slope for those of us on the addiction spectrum. So we'd love to hear your thoughts if you have anything that you'd like to share about that. And if you want to know more, you can find us at realfoodrecovery4u.com. That's the number 4 and the letter U. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.